the looking glass. 7 years of bad luck, yeah. Good things in the past. See, when you believe in things you don't understand, you suffer, yeah. Superstitious is the way.
On today's episode of PJ and the Beard, we're going to do a segment we like to call Gear Stories. But before we get into this story, I'd like to ask you to consider subscribing to the channel, clicking the notification bell. By doing that, you help us interact with great companies and help us bring good content to engage you. So, we're going to get into this story about a guitar, but it's more than the guitar. It's about the man behind the guitar. That was a very personal friend of Jason's and some other mutual friends of mine.
I would say so. Yeah. This is affectionately being called the Harrington Burst. We'll explain to that a little bit more in a minute. So Gary Harrington, I would have met late 1990s probably, right? So like 90, if I had to guess, like 97, 98. Walking into a little bar in Steelton, PA, like right next to Harrisburg. So I go walking in. There was a flyer at the local guitar store, Triple R. Randy had a flyer for the Blues Society.
Okay.
I picked it up, Chenoy Street, the Low Kill Hotel. This place is an old like basically Sonny, the guy that owned it, still cooked burgers and crab cake sandwiches and things for the steelworkers. He was open. It was like his living room. The first time the Blues Society went in there, he didn't have enough pitchers to serve them beer for their meeting. But it grew into this huge thing over the years. Blues Society is still going on. They still have a jam. It's not at the Low Keel anymore. Walk into Low Keel, get with my guitar and my amp, like a stupid early 20-year-old.
I know we don't want to make this story very long, but what guitar and amp did you walk in with? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was the green Strat.
Okay.
And
not the worst guitar you could walk in with.
And the Hot Rod Deluxe.
All right. So you didn't walk in with a crate and like a Schecter or something?
No.
It's good.
And so they had a list. You sign up, you get caught up on stage. This was in the very early days. Didn't have a drum set there yet. I got caught up on stage. Billy Stock was playing a dobro. So anybody that knows these people will understand. Billy Stock's playing a dobro. Gary Harrington's playing a lap steel.
Oh my gosh.
And I get caught up on my Strat. And if I had known then what I know now, I would have never went up on that stage. Because both of those were monster players. And anyway, Gary became the guy kind of like at the blues jam that would take me outside afterwards. Like, here's what you did really well, and here's what you didn't do so well. Actually, I think it normally was flip-flop. Here's what you sucked at. And, you know.
Ended on a high note.
Right.
That's
and
good.
This was okay. Kind of thing. But Gary's the guy that if you went and you saw his band, he'd invite you up on stage to sit in with them. Just became one of those kind of musical mentors over the years. A couple years ago, Gary got real sick. I don't think we're going to go into all of the ailments and the things that troubled him near the end. But this guitar ended up here for a couple years and was kind of being custodian of it. We talked about it. He knew that I wanted to have it someday. He wanted me to have it someday. And that, you know, we'll leave it at that. There was things going on, but like I just kind of we kept it here. It stayed in the case. Didn't
One
get
thing
played.
to say, suffice to say, you weren't in a hurry to get it because that meant something had to happen.
Yeah,
They could have sat here for another 10 years and they wouldn't have cared.
Yeah, I didn't care. I didn't have to play it. When Gary eventually passed away, I did help his family sell his Pelham Blue like 64 SG. That should be another gear story coming. It's really exciting what's happening with that guitar. I can't wait to share it with you. And then reach out to his brother and like, look, this has been here forever. I'd like to keep it here. You know, we work something out. So let's talk about it. And I don't know if I said it. I feel like I could tell you stories about Gary forever.
Multi-instrumentalist, singer, tinkerer.
Tinker, you name it. Guitar, like he would go to the blues jam. You need a guitar player? Good. Bass? Sure. Drums? Sure. Hammond organ? Sure. You can play them all well. And I mean, just a really fabulous musician. Tinkerer. Let's talk about this. So Gary got this. I believe it was a cherry red. It's a 1979 Les Paul Custom. It had a gouge out of it, apparently. The really sad part about this video is that I had intended to sit down with Gary and talk about the whole story about this guitar, and unfortunately he passed away before that happened. Although we had many conversations on the phone about it. So it had a gouge in it. He sanded the finish off and sanded the top down until he got the gouge out of it. So the carve on the top is not maybe your typical Les Paul carve anymore. There's Tinker number 1. Tinker number 2, he used some different stains or whatever and stain the top. We'll try and get some close-ups of that for you. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I really do. I love the color.
It's really unique. It is cool.
Right. So I think it's cool in that regard. He talked to me about how much lacquer he put on, and then he put the coat on and he sanded, he buffed, and he walked me through every coat several occasions. When I got it from Gary, there was 2 knobs on it. I left the 2 knobs on it though I moved. I think this was on the tone, and I moved it up. So they're on, I think it was just the bottom, bridge pickup, volume, and tone knobs. Moved one up. The first couple frets here are scalloped. And Gary said that that's from playing. Somebody else said, yeah, right. Dave Barber said, very likely. Especially if you had like hard nails or whatever. And Gary did. What else are we pointing out here? I think this inlay's been replaced.
You think?
Is it called a TPS bridge?
I think so. I have a 78 Ibanez has the exact same bridge.
So you have those little micro tuners down here. We'll get some good pictures of the back and stuff for you. There's some other issues in it. There's some cracks in the top. Nothing like real serious. It's one of those things that the more you look, the more you find.
Mm-hmm.
So we try not to look. I should point this out on the top here. It says Kenny. It has a signature. That signature is Kenny Neal's. So Gary went out one night and ended up sitting in with Kenny Neal. And for you blues people out there, you probably know who Kenny Neal is. So he sits in with Kenny Neal. Kenny Neal asks him to go out on the road. Go out on the road with me, be my, second guitar player. Gary would have hopped at the opportunity, but when Gary's father passed away, he promised his dad that he would look after his mom. So he didn't want to go out on the road and leave his mom alone. So Gary stayed back, missed that. I think that was always a big deal to him. He was proud of himself that he didn't take that opportunity, but I think he always missed the fact that he missed out on that opportunity to go out on the road with Kenny Neal. This was the guitar. Gary always said that, like, when he became famous, this was the guitar that he would be famous with. This is the one everybody would know him for. So anyway, what am I missing?
And they got to the signature. I don't know. It's just a lot going on.
It's just a lot going on. It's really cool, but it's really cool to me, I think, more of the sentimental value.
Sure.
So a friend, a musical mentor, a whatever, like, you look down and you got the little strap button here, and you can see like multiple holes on the other side where it's just been like, we'll just drill a new hole.
I think it's a drywall screw, to be honest with you.
put it in. So yeah,
it works.
One thing, when we were sitting down here getting ready, talking about this and to do this, I was kind of like thinking through all the little things I learned on stage with Gary. Because when I started going to the blues jam, really, I was like, I knew the pentatonic scale, and I knew 1, 4, 5 chords, and that was kind of it. And kind of learned to play on that stage. So I always do much better in situations where there's like a group of people, like a drummer and a bass player. What are those things that stick out in my mind from Gary? So things like... And I started on the wrong note on that. Some people will know what I mean by that.
I'll pull him out in the parking lot later and tell him.
Yeah, some people will know what I mean. We would have played it much slower though. I'm trying to think. And there's a whole bunch of things. But so what we thought we'd do real quick, I'm gonna hand it to Pat. Let Pat give a little pickup demo. He's more maybe a Les Paul guy than I am.
Well,
actually.
I'm not a blues guy. I don't really have any Gary stories other than I have met him. There's another mutual friend we have, Mac. We've talked about it on the show a couple times. I know that I saw Gary out at other blues jams. Because he looks like Gregory Hines. Like, go look up Gregory Hines on Wikipedia. You know, a ballet dancer, danced with Baryshnikov in some of the movies and stuff. And I remember when a blues jam, I go, what? He's up there, he can dance and sing? And then I think one of the times he was convalescing after one of his ailments, he was at Michael's house, at Mac's house, and one day he came to church, and unfortunately didn't play that day, but came up on the stage, talked to him, and met him kind of officially or whatever. Really a kind-hearted soul. So that's the extent of my Gary stories. So your typical Les Paul minus the missing knobs, three-way toggle here, and you heard a lot of the neck pickup. It's really nice. I'll go all the way down to the bridge first. I like that because it almost breaks up on its own. It almost sounds like you have a little drive on it. And it's not too sparkly shrill, even though this is pegged at 10. And then both pickups together. Very clear. They're really nice.
So, and there's been some, from the time I picked it up, from the time we said, okay, we can open the case and play it now, basically.
Original chainsaw case, by the way.
So Chris had it down at Woodshed and did some setup work on the neck and stuff. I think I had him change the volume pots, and I didn't like the ones he put in it. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to change them again, and they still weren't quite right. And I think they weren't quite right, maybe a little bit more to my wiring than... Anyway, I took it over when we talked about going to Dave Barber's house a couple weeks ago from Barber Electronics, and he helped me kind of like straighten out the wiring in there. And hopefully we're going to get to talk to him about that a little bit, because it's just a fountain of information on the differences between like 50s wiring and whatever and why and all that. So I think it's straightened out. Yeah.
Speaking of Barber, do we want to...
You want to
just put a little stank on it just for a second?
Show you, so tell all the boys and girls, tell your brother, your sister, and your mama too, cause we're about to throw down, and you know just what to do. Wave your hands in the air like you don't care. Bye bye to people as they start to look and stare. Do your dance, do your dance, do your dance quick, mama. Come on, baby, tell me what's the word, a word up. Everybody say, no matter how you say it, you know that you'll be heard. Now word up, it's the cold word. No matter how you say it, you know that you'll be heard.
little Barber Electronics direct drive? Well, let me turn the camera on.
Okay.
And then we'll hit the...
Turn the...
There we go.
All right. It sounds really good. It's a very inspiring guitar. Mm.
Yeah.
I played it the most tonight that I played it. It's really... I don't know. I think some of Gary's mojo is still in here, to be quite honest with you.
There's definitely some of Gary's mojo still on there. I don't know. I'm not sure if it makes you play any better.
That's right.
It's definitely some still mojo. Yeah. It's I guess in some regards it doesn't matter how well it plays or how beat up it is or you know what problems it has and all that, because like we said, I think it's more about this gear story to me anyway. I think for both of us is really more about the man, than it is the guitar. The guitar is like it may be a physical remnant, you know, just a reminder of how special he was. So And it's one that, I'm going to treasure just before that,
Mm-hmm.
And it's something you probably see show up on the channel from time to time because, if you have a 1979 Les Paul Custom sitting around and you need Les Paul, that might be one to grab.
It might be.
Right. So, anyway, anything to add?
No, this was great. It's an amazing story. I think we've talked about that before. Everybody loves the story about how they chase down a piece of gear. It's even better when there's a personal connection to it.
And you know what? I mean, I'm thinking any Les Paul lovers are look at that top and be like, what is that?
Right. I think
they might not like it.
I think people hear 79 Les Paul Custom like, ooh, and then they see it and they go, okay.
Yeah, they might not like it.
All right.
but they're going to ask about it. It meant sentimental value for him was really, really high.
Mm-hmm.
Actual physical value.
Right.
And sentimental value probably don't equal each other.
I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but I'll leave you with this. A bluesman that is an amazing musician, Steinberger guitars. He played Steinbergers. Like you got this futuristic looking headless thing with some guys just playing blues. Now he played some punk and stuff like that too, but like
Sing it for me one more time. Fire, fire. The way you walk and talk really sets me off to full on child. Yes, you do. The way you squeeze and tease, you knock me to my knees, 'cause I'm smoking, baby, baby. The way you swerve and curve really wrecks my nerves, and I'm so excited, child. Oh, and when you push, let me know that my love is real. Oh.
for a guy that has like a classic guitar, he's up there playing blues and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I mean
On
he had a 64 Tone Blue SG, and he had this, and I mean both. You have to understand a lot of his gear. I mean, he used it; it was tools. It wasn't.
Sure.
He wasn't hanging it on the wall.
I've heard rumor that one of those Steinbergers was a Sunburst. I've never seen one of those.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got in the weeds with that just because it's like that's the depth and breadth of the.
But he did. He
Gary
played.
Harrington.
He had 3 Steinbergers.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Yeah.
At least 3 Steinbergers. There might have been more. So anyway, I mean, good repairman, good tinker. I mean, he just loved to take parts and put them together and, swap things out. And right up to the very end, he was ordering necks and stuff from overseas that he was trying to build these guitars. And I mean, it's just, he was nuts. That cowboy boots and cowboy hats too, like cowboy boots especially, like he had a good collection of those. So anyway, we are getting in the weeds, but there's probably some clips in here of Gary playing this guitar too. I'm going to drop in, which probably if you're hearing this, you've already seen them. So hopefully you figured it out. With that, we always pause just to say thanks for watching, hitting the subscribe button, click the notification bell. Anytime you interact with the show, it's great. Helps us out. Check out the website. I don't want to beat that stuff to death right now because it's more about this.
Yeah.
So with that,
I'm PJ on behalf of the Beard, reminding about you here, you never have too much gear, especially when it's a magical thing like this.
from the 5.